All right, so today's show is just a little bit different. We're going to have the folks from Shopify come on Perpetual Traffic here today and explain a lot of the new releases, a lot of the stuff that's coming out now and into 2025. And they do this twice a year, what they call Shopify editions. They do it in the summer and they do it in the winter. And we just so happen to have both agency owners here, but also Lauren is running a Shopify store. We have a tier 11 Shopify store. We don't really sell a whole lot on it. So I think it's important for us to show this to you guys because this is a little bit of a departure of some of their previous editions, which I know you and your team, you guys go through this really specifically with all the different updates. And there's like hundreds of updates that Shopify does on a twice yearly basis. Obviously, they're doing it not just at this time of year, but they're doing it throughout the entire year. So as you can see here today, definitely head on over to our YouTube channel at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. You can actually see the inside, the boring and not boring edition. We're going to be showing you today the not boring edition. So did I explain edition correctly, Lauren? Like how do you use it? Like what's your take on it?
So this being winter 25 and coming out in December 2024 is like massive because usually we have to wait till like January, February. So one, I'm super excited because everyone's going to be on holiday break and not working, and I'm going to beat all of you guys because we are. But yeah, no, we check this out. There's always so many new updates, and like our two Shopify developers like comb through all of this and then build full recommendation plans of what we're implementing, what we're recommending. It's a huge update because a lot of the times these editions have new features. It's when Shopify email had launched. It's when meta fields became available across all different areas. It's like it's changing so much. A lot of times you'll see these editions launch quasi attacks on apps where they're making a inferior version of popular apps available for free, included in the Shopify subscriptions. But this edition specifically is the boring edition, and I am so here for it and so grateful for it because, look, sometimes these editions come out and they're better than nothing solutions for Shopify store owners when there is a platinum premium app available, but sometimes these apps cost $400+ a month, and a lot of Shopify store owners want basic bundling or subscription level products. So Shopify creates a basic version and they're not always mature enough to use. So this boring edition is like going back to everything that they've created in many areas and being boring about their updates, but making them fantastically better.
Yeah. So anyway, so if you're watching on YouTube, you can see actually the boring update, the boring edition. So this looks like an old school website from like 20 years ago.
This looks like Craigslist when it first came out.
Yeah, it's so funny because if you go, and we'll leave links in the show notes for this, obviously, for the past editions. If you've never seen the past editions, like they are super high-end production.
Sexy designs.
Sexy design, like seriously cool designs. This one, however, is completely different. Like, how do you get across literally hundreds of updates?
They have a print button. Button. Who prints pages?
I know. Nobody. Although my wife does. My mother-in-law does. Yeah.
I just clicked the button, Ralph. Oh my gosh. They legit have it available. It's 9 sheets of paper. And when you click it, it does like that.
There it is.
Old
right
school
there.
printing noise.
There's the old school printing noise.
This is so
DMZ,
cool.
like LaserJet and the DMZ. That's the area between Jen and office. We call it the DMZ.
Wait.
Anyway,
that's
the
funny.
zone. So all of this. So we're going to click on the not boring button over here. And I've already watched a little bit of this. I think this is the first time that Lauren has seen it. So be very interesting.
I was looking at it on my phone. And I didn't realize. I thought it was like a game they made. The not boring edition. I thought it was a game. I didn't realize it delivered the information.
We have
rock and roll pigs.
We have rock and roll pigs.
Use pixels to build compliant session recording solutions.
Compliant session recording solutions.
This is a huge lawsuit.
Pinpoint
delivered by
areas of the buyer journey and areas of friction.
You should be doing the guitar riff, Ralph.
I should be doing the guitar riff. I'm gonna mute the guitar playing pigs here. You can actually do it like old school style with with a remote control button, and you can.
Anyone under the age of 25 doesn't understand why there are numbers on a remote control.
Right. Like,
Where's
why
the Netflix
are there
button?
numbers? Right. Where's the Netflix number? So now we're on to guitar playing guy here for self-serve return API. So anyway, so we're only on like update 51. I haven't gone through all of them. I think there's like 150 plus updates.
Well, here, click on 151 and let's just keep doing the channel.
5 1. Look at that.
I mean,
all right. This is how you used to actually watch TV for those of you.
Oh, try 150.
Remote 151. There it is.
There's
a little bit of a delay here. All right, we have motorcycle guy. Customers in Italy.
I heard some great news this morning. Apparently you can create and customize product automations and return.
Anyway, this is absolutely hysterical. So it's like, this is just cool. Like Shopify is just a cool company. Like they just do things differently. And I think
they've hired Gen Zers. There's no way a boomer came up with this.
No way.
But I bet you Gen Zers were partnering with boomers to be like, how do we bridge the gap?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Ralph, there's also, did you see that there's a phone number? I'm going to call the phone number right now. Look, exit out of that.
Welcome to Late Night with Shopify Editions.
What?
This is the boring edition. To listen to our updates for online, press 1 now. For retail, press 2.
Oh my gosh.
I just clicked the 1-844-774-0779 number and it immediately opens up FaceTime. I'm on my laptop and Lauren's actually on her phone, so you can do it both ways. So it automatically dialed from the boring page, Shopify.
And it will read you these updates. So you can print it out, you can watch it online, watch it on TV, call in. Oh my gosh. I hope they're going to give us numbers on this. And I 100% want to buy this boring t-shirt now.
Totally. I just actually got 2 for my kids. Hopefully they don't listen to this show. I know they don't listen to this show. For stocking stuffers from Santa. So anyway, get a boring t-shirt. So really excited to have the folks from Shopify here to talk through some of those updates. We can't get to all 151, but without further ado, let's get to the main show here on Perpetual Traffic with our special guest, Shopify. Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic Podcast. This is your host, Ralph Burns, the founder and CEO of Tier 11, alongside my awesome co-host,
Lauren E. Petrullo, founder of Mongoose Media.
We are pretty excited today. I mean, this is a company we've talked about probably for like every one of our 600 plus episodes. And we finally have them on here talking about it. Like we pretty much advocate, like if you're an e-commerce store and you're on one of those other guys, you should go over to this platform. In fact, I know agencies that won't even accept clients unless they're on this platform here.
Mine included.
Yours included. And we are talking about Shopify, our favorite e-commerce platform in the world. So really excited to have Andris Baranauskas. He's the head of product at Shopify here to talk a lot of things that are going on, a lot of new reveals, because there's a new product that's coming out here. And it's already actually come out, as well as just talking Shopify tech. Yeah, so this is fresh news, Lauren. Pretty excited to have Maris here. So welcome to Perpetual Traffic.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. I'm very excited. And the surname was pronounced pretty well.
I give it 2 tries. I think we'll just have Kevin just edit out the first try. But anyway, I got to leave this over to Lauren because she is like the Shopify techie expert here. I just sort of, all I know is that the easiest way to get an e-commerce store up and running is on Shopify. That's sort of where I sort of begin and end. And then obviously the placement of the pixel and all the tracking that goes along with it is super easy. But there's a lot of new stuff that's coming down the line. So Lauren, fire away.
Well, like full disclosure for anyone that's listening, like I've personally owned 3 Shopify stores. I use Shopify POS, and as stated earlier, I don't work with clients that use non-Shopify. It's just it's too difficult of an ecosystem. So like, yeah, obviously major actual fan of Shopify. I mean, there's always pros and cons to every e-commerce platform. But if you're listening to this now, like its editions is out, the winter editions come out. It's earlier than usual. I know that they always have such a bundle of updates that come out twice a year. And so now we're super excited because you get to hear and like not have to go through all because oh my gosh, sometimes Andres, like no offense, but there's so many updates that you give in these editions. Like it takes hours to sift through all of them. Like you're doing like 100 products in one edition and past ones before. Like that's a lot. But this time is a little different. This time it's a lot of new stuff, but it's not like new. It's like improved new. It's like back to foundations new. So can you tell us a little high level of like what winter editions 24 is all about?
For sure. Edition is a special thing at Shopify. So every 6 months we launch a new edition, a new Shopify edition that tells a very comprehensive, very visual product story about the latest things that we've launched, updates, enhancements all over like our platform. And you, Lauren, you're right. There's often like more than 100 of them. And it's usually a visual feast. If you go to shopify.com and you look into the previous edition, they look so nice. Every edition has one thing is that there's like a lot of features, but visually it's so nice. This edition, however, is different, as rightly pointed out, and we've made a bold move not to ship new products and just focus on making sure that our existing products work much better, and also that they work much better together. So what you're seeing is a lot of bit, boring, gritty details that will have a lot of impact. Our goal at Shopify is ensuring that merchants win, that merchants make more money. And the reason why they're going to win now, why they're going to win tomorrow, is because Shopify is so future-proof and innovating better than ever before. Specifically in my own area, we do have a new development, not a new feature. That the feature that was launched a bit more than a year ago to all merchants in the US, all Plus merchants in the US, Shop Campaigns is now available to all plans. So now all merchants are able to scale their marketing and grow with Shop Campaigns to reach and acquire new customers, to engage the customers that they need to win back, and so on. So I'm very, very excited about this edition.
So Shopify Plus stores, so those that don't know, you have to pay a premium to get access to that, and that can be costly. There's a break-even point because you get discounts on the credit card transactions and unlock a whole host of benefits, which one of my favorite has been able to have the dev store, or like the internationalization. You can have multiple storefronts, but there's been a lot of features that have been exclusive to Shopify Plus. So Shop Campaign specifically is now set up for all stores. But I bet there are a lot of people listening that have no idea what Shop Campaigns even is. Yeah, do you mind going into what that is specifically?
Yeah, Shop Campaigns in very short term is your marketing on autopilot. So we simplify the customer acquisition altogether with the product, and you can think about this as something that is risk-free, very low maintenance, and so on. So when you go on to set up a Shop Campaign to start advertising using that product, you have two types of campaigns. You can do new customers, or you can re-engage lapsed customers. And that's, by the way, is a very new thing that we launched in autumn. And you only need to set three things. First, you name the price that you're willing to pay for the new customer or re-engaged customers. So your customer acquisition cost, or CAC, that we often call in the industry. You also indicate return on ad spend target. So how much GMV you want in return for that spend. And then you set the budget. So three things: the cost, the return on ad spend, and the budget. And you can also choose to expand your campaign on the third-party surfaces, such as Meta and Google, because by default, your campaign is going to run on the Shop app. And we take care of the rest. So we take care of the creative, we take care of the targeting part, we take care of the placements, and we also choose the right incentive. So there's very, very little time necessary to set things up, very little maintenance involved. It's super easy, just set and forget. And on top of that, we also provide a prediction on how your campaign is going to perform. So based on whatever you set up, based on the price that you enter and so on, you can very clearly see how that campaign is going to run, what are the results that you can expect. So you can actually set it up correctly on the first go. So yeah, this is paid marketing on autopilot.
Which is like something where a lot of people listening, they might be like media buyers who are specialists in one platform or another, or they're brand owners that are like, how do I know if my media buyer is effective? You're like, this is an easy thing that the brand owner or a junior marketer can set up because it's just the 3 parameters. But you talked specifically about it being default to the Shop app, which is where those Shop campaigns go. So like, I'm stoked about this because like, I talk about shops a lot, like meta shops or like unique marketplaces. And like, I feel bad, Andres, and like, forgive me, Ralph and listeners. Like, I don't like telling people about Shop app because it feels like a secret. But like now we're just going to blow the lid out and be like, yeah, this is a really, really great placement for your ad. So with Shop app specifically, like you just talked about how you can do like repeat buyers and you're using Shopify directly, which is where the sales happen. Can you talk a little bit more about what Shop app and why that is so impactful for a lot of, I'm just assuming half the people listening are pretending they know this and don't like actually know this. Like they've heard about this and you're like, okay, I really need to pay attention because yes, you do.
So Shop app is the consumer-facing app that is already used and trusted by millions of shoppers. So if, let's say, today you open iOS App Store and you look at the shopping category, Shop is going to be one of the most downloaded, one of the most popular apps out there. And what Shop enables for Shopify merchants is engaging with buyers that otherwise would be very, very hard to reach and very, very broad buyer base. And every day we see thousands of buyers being connected to independent brands for the first time. And that discovery is actually a very, very beautiful experience. So if you open the Shop app, you see like a full page merchant presentation where they can be represented by products, but they can also be represented by video, which is always very impressive and allows brands to tell their own story. And when you use a tool like Shop Campaigns, it's possible to get even more of this, acquiring new customers for a brand in this risk-free manner at a fixed price and low maintenance. What I think is also worth talking about is how Shop app is helpful re-engaging repeat buyers and how it benefits merchants on Shopify. We see that the buyers on the app are a lot more likely to return. We see that almost 60% of orders are coming from repeat buyers.
Wait, that was 60%?
Yeah,
are
60%.
repeat buyers.
Yeah, and the way we think about the app and all of that repeat buying behavior is that, hey, like Shop app is an app that is a super tool, super power that Shopify merchants have. It's an app that otherwise would be very, very, very hard for merchants to have individually. But working together, they can actually have that presence on the mobile phone, have that real estate on the phone, and something that is used by many, many, many people in North America, and at an install base that is very hard, if not impossible, to achieve individually. And then having leverage of tools that exist on a mobile phone, like push notifications being featured in emails and driving traffic into that mobile app, is something that's now possible that otherwise would be very, very hard.
Yeah, that burden has always been put on the retailer to create their own app. And like, again, just selfishly speaking, like I've seen purchases come in through the Shop app without me having to do anything. And then I was like, oh, what is this? And then I like went down this huge rabbit hole. And again, like, I feel like so guilty, but also like so mad that I'm like revealing this like secret that I really harbored in because it's just like bonus sales. And now like the idea of to tap into the repeat customers. I mean, repeat customers are so hard. Like you're emailing them, you're SMSing them. I mean, again, this is in North America. We've just had a huge presidential election. There's Black Friday. It's like notification fatigue. But you've been talking about how like the like returning customer and more like you mentioned before, there's like the lapsed customer and like how powerful that is, and then even like with how this is coming in with additions, like the newest launch, like we've now got better strategy to get lapsed customers, the people that have ignored us for so long, and you're like, why didn't you repeat, you silly goose you?
Yeah, that's something we launched very, very recently. So it's an audience targeting feature. You in the past the only group that you could target customers, and we were very, very, very good at that and bringing you new customers. But we've always heard from our merchants that hey, there's another segment, another customer base that they really want to reach, and they face great difficulty doing that. Are the customers that haven't bought for a few months, and we call that lapsed customers. When we were talking to merchants very clearly said, hey, like we typically use email marketing for this, but some of the audiences are like much harder to reach, especially if they haven't engaged with the brand for quite a while. And what we do here is we allow and we give tools for merchants to confidently target customers based on their last purchase date. So let's say, hey, if you want to engage customers who haven't bought from you for the last 9 months but bought before, here's the tool to do that. So you can precisely target those customers with a very personalized offer inside the Shop app. You set the dedicated customer acquisition cost you're willing to pay. You set the return on ad spend target for this cohort, and you run the campaign. And this is one of the things that we've seen and heard time and time again, that, hey, I might be willing to pay this price for a new customer, but I'm not willing to pay the same price to re-engage that customer, because merchants think about the lifetime value of the customer.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make sense for them, right? So, and this is why we created this flexibility where, hey, you can specify one price for new customers and a different price to re-engage your lost customer base, lapsed customer base, and bring them back to you and bring them back to make a purchase. And this is really not about just enhancing sales. It's about driving lifetime value of the customer, which is very, very valuable as we go through the holiday season.
So Andres, we were just with a client that is in the non-e-commerce space. They actually sell more of they're in the hospitality space, and they spent tens of thousands of dollars on an app. And they told us, they said they have a 70% close rate when they use an app. And here you guys are offering, I don't think we've ever talked about this here on the show. And we've got a lot of Shopify users who listen to this show. It's like, this thing is completely free. And just due to the fact that some of the stats that you're talking about, repeat visitors, the buyer experience is that much better. I mean, this is an absolute no-brainer. This is almost like the best kept secret that we haven't talked about. And I think, Lauren, I know we've obviously talked about, the in-app apps, the shops, but this is a game changer just in itself. Like, I don't think people in our audience really understand exactly how impactful that really is. And we understand how friction-free it is on an app. And here you guys are offering it for free as just an addition. Like, why would anybody not do that? And some of the most major brands that use Shopify are already using it. I just want to call that out to the listener. Like, if you're not using it, like, you should be doing it right now. You're in an e-commerce store. It might be a little bit too late for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Maybe it's not, for next year. But like, this is a game changer just unto itself.
Yeah. And one thing that is very, very interesting about mobile apps is how much they reduce the friction that often exists in this environment. So you have the customer who's signed in all the time. They don't need to enter any details in the checkout. Their experience can be personalized. It's also frictionless, that then enables both easier ability to reach that customer, but also to convert them once they land in the app.
Yeah,
and that's very useful. And something that is very, very hard to achieve independently.
Oh yeah, for sure. So talk to us about Shopify audiences, tracking, obviously in the app. I mean, that's all stuff that you guys are capturing. How you sort of deal with the privacy issues with a lot of the other platforms like Facebook, Meta, all that. Like, explain that to us, because that's a big topic of conversation here on the show. And what are your solutions in order to mitigate a lot of that?
Yeah, I think that Audience's story and Audiences as a product was the first product that we've launched in this space. And I think it's also worth talking a bit about how we got there and why are we even doing things in the marketing domain. We saw that marketing, and more specifically paid marketing, advertising, is a super important area. Shopify, we are trying to create a world. We want to create a world that has way more entrepreneurs than it has today. And for anyone who has that dream, our job is to offer them the best chance to start a business. And when we look into different areas that have friction in that process, there are many of them, but one of the biggest areas is marketing and advertising. And it's one of the key activities that merchants do in day-to-day life. If you look at where the merchant's time is spent, they constantly think about, hey, how can I bring more business through marketing? Where do they spend money? It's this area and so on. And when we ask our merchants what's their number one problem, it's getting customers, it's getting sales, getting new customers through the door. There's so much friction there. And when I just entered the space and I was talking to merchants, was talking to partners and so on, we all saw that, hey, marketing is hard. And it is getting harder all the time. There's so many different platforms to run ads. There are so many different ways to acquire customers. Setting up the campaigns is difficult. Costs constantly grow. You rightly point out that privacy laws changed and the platforms changed.
And they're still changing.
Changing even more in 2025, right?
Yeah.
It's not getting any better.
Yeah, exactly. And I was performance marketer myself for a bit of time, 10, 12 years ago, acquiring installs for an app that's now the largest fashion resale marketplace in the world. And even then, the marketing was difficult. It was a very, very difficult job for someone who has some experience in that space. And it's a difficult job for an experienced marketer. And it's almost impossible if you're just starting to grow. And this is a real tax on our merchants' ability to grow. Many merchants could grow their business faster if the advertising spend would be more predictable, if it would be more effective, and if there would be no complexity or complexity about the space than it is today. And in order to solve for this, for that changing landscape, for the marketing performance deteriorating at that time, we first created a product that is now known as Audiences. And then later we added campaigns to the mix that we just talked about. And the difference between these two products is that with Shopify Audiences, we help merchants to run their existing ads better. And campaigns, we simplify the experience altogether. And what happens with Audiences is Audiences is an app. You can discover it using Shopify App Store. You can just install it. Mm-hmm. You opt into a data co-op where merchants pool data together to generate like thousands and millions of insights that then are used to deliver performance. And they connect their accounts on different platforms. So we do support Meta, we support Google, there's Pinterest, TikTok, Criteria, and Snap. You connect the accounts wherever you advertise. And then based on these insights, we create you an audience that is exported to those platforms. And you apply them to the ad sets that you run, to the campaigns that you run, and this leads to better performance. For example, we see that most merchants using retargeting feature, generating retargeting audiences and applying them on these largest ad platforms, they double or more their retargeting audience.
Wow.
Which then means a lot lower cost per acquisition of the customers. This is an audience that is most of the time most and the best performing one. And you can double down on it now, and you can get a lot more. You can double sales that are coming from the segment, and that's the impact that the merchants see using the product.
I mean, we've used Audiences, and we have the direct feeds that go into it, the same as like we do with Klaviyo, and wherever we can get as much data that we can put into the algorithms, because we're in this like data drought essentially. Like you can't always circumvent the cookies and everything else. So like for sure, like we've been using that, but like in that space, right? So what, like going back, like with what we've got live today, right? With additions, like how has that changed? Like what improvements have been made beyond making it more accessible to smaller audiences? Like what is additions doing that's differently for the user? Like how is it improving? I'm essentially just saying, like, calling out places that you might have launched prematurely before that weren't ready and now they're going to be better.
Yeah. So if I go specifically to audiences, and if I look back through this year, there has been a lot of change, and some of that change is going to be shared in addition, but some of that change happened even before it. And this is a product that just keeps improving, keeps getting better through the year. And I've talked about retargeting audiences, right? And that's something that improved significantly. We had an announcement earlier this year. We shared the data points about doubling the retargeting audiences, doubling orders that come from those audiences. We've also introduced a benchmark feature comparing your ad performance to similar stores, and being very granular about it. So let's say you have a merchant that is selling custom-made T-shirts, and they're an apparel retailer, but they are not the same as, let's say, high-end dress designer.
Sure.
And they want insights that are very relevant to their part of the business. And this is where we automatically generate and understand what is a similar store cohort for this merchant. So the benchmarks are really relevant for them, and they can compare their campaign performance to similar merchants in that space, not just like any apparel retailer in using that product.
Oh my gosh. I'm just thinking every agency ever that's getting like the conversations. It's like, well, I saw this thing on TikTok and it's working for XYZ. And it becomes like irrelevant benchmarks. And it's like this unicorn status that at least we've in the past, well, I'm sure you felt this too, where it's like being compared. I was like, I can't compare you to a well-funded T-shirt brand. Yes, you're in the same category, but there's 1,500 other things that are different. And so that's at least if you're the marketer that's listening and you have those PTSD conversations that sometimes like make you twitch, this just helps level the playing field and have honest conversations. Or if you're the brand owner, to understand that like when you're winning, because I think like a lot of the stuff, Andres, that you're talking about, like if you don't know, Shopify Capital has been a thing that like Shopify has addressed for a lot of business owners who said the previous issue they had was they didn't have money because inventory. So Shopify Capital is always popping up on the app like, oh, you get so much money, being flaunted in my face every single day. I'm like, oh, that's a lot. But that's like been a way that Shopify has tried to help the entrepreneur end user.
We're removing the friction from like all of the parts of entrepreneur journey when you really think about it, and marketing is one of the most difficult parts. So that's the thing.
I think that's super important for any sort of startup with a Shopify store. It's like, what's my benchmark in the space? I mean, that also gives you a pretty good idea of like what your new cost per acquiring customer should be to a certain degree, because that's one of the most challenging things. It's probably the most challenging thing that we face as an agency, is getting the NCAC, or the new cost to acquire a customer, down to a level that makes sense, not only on the front end, but also for lifetime value. It's like any more data. We always say, well, you got to look at your back end data, and chances are that's usually inside Shopify. But a lot of these tools just make it easier for people to be able to navigate, because cost to acquire a customer, the advertising costs and marketing and all the platforms we just mentioned, they're not going down anytime soon. So you have to be that much smarter, like with your messaging, with your voice, also knowing what's the benchmark in the industry, maybe not going after a specific niche because it is too expensive for you based upon your cost of goods sold. Like all these are super important business insights that you give to startups, entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs that want to leave the corporate world. These are huge tools.
Maybe changing the space a bit, and I want to go back a bit to campaigns product, because I think it's very relevant to this conversation in terms of understanding your performance, comparing your performance to across different platforms, and generally getting a sense of how well you're doing. I think the important topic is also incentives that you give to your buyers. That's an important part of the customer journey, and in terms of incentives you deploy. For example, you run a campaign on any of the larger ad platforms out there, you pay for visibility there, right? You pay for the traffic.
The impressions.
Sure.
Yeah, the impressions. And then when the buyer actually lands on your store, you most of the time you offer a first-time purchase discount, like a code to and
$15 off, 10% off. You have to incentivize them. You just paid for them to be here. Now let me give away even more margin.
We give away more bottom line.
It's like Black Friday year round.
Yeah, exactly. So your customer acquisition cost actually consists of at least two parts. The first, you pay to that platform. And the second, there's additional expense to get that customer across the finish line on your store from your own margin, right? And an interesting thing with Shop Campaigns is, again, like this is an ads on autopilot, right? So all of this is taken care of for you. And you specify the customer acquisition cost you want to pay. This is the actual price you pay. And Shop Campaign takes care of the incentive itself and often involves the incentive. We call it the shop offer to help that customer to convert initially or to win back that customer.
So you provide that. Shopify provides that discount, not from the business owner, not from the product cost of goods and margin.
Got it.
You're again in this like Disney World protection of we have hotels and golf courses and parks. You never have to leave except for leaving from the airport to get to the park. You're containing the ecosystem so that the user and the business owner have a safe and good experience to come back.
Yeah. And this is possible because you have experience and understanding of the funnel end to end. We can identify the right size of the incentive. So incentive doesn't need to be always $15, right? It can be dynamic depending on who the customer is.
Well, that's huge.
The right type of incentive and so on. And
there
are like,
I'm sorry, I'm like take that back. There's some people like we don't skip over that part. So
Andrew, so we need to become your hype crew here. Like we just like throw like the 60%, like you said 60% before, and now like a lot of these. Lauren, reiterate that point for the audience because I know they weren't listening the first time.
It's like essentially making an incentive love language. We all know about like the different love languages. Are you like a gift giver, quality timer? Now you're saying like, hey, we're going to give you the incentive love language, and like it's going to be dynamic based off of your buying behavior because again, in that ecosystem, you own that data. You already know that data because they're shopping across bajillions of Shopify stores already. Whoa.
Yeah. And on top of that, there's another thing is that there are also other factors that influence, how conversion happens. Not only if it happens, but at what basket size does it happen, right? So because, if you're a marketer, if you're a merchant, you are seeking certain basket size because that indicates what kind of lifetime value you're going to get on
For sure.
Right?
Your average order value matters.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And because you're able to set your target return on ad spend, let's say you have the customer acquisition cost of 50 and your target ad spend of 3. So this basically means that you expect the transaction to happen at roughly $150 basket size, right? And this is where the system that is powering Shop Campaigns is very smart because it can deploy various ways to actually influence that this transaction then happens at that price. We deploy things like minimum order value as necessary in order for you to unlock that incentive, as an example.
What? That's like, we all cheat the system. We're always like free shipping and we increase it to be 10% over what average order value is so that we can push that up. And you're just saying you're able to contribute that within your campaigns directly.
And you can do this in real time, like as it actually happens, individual to the individual user, individual to the individual shopper. Am I understanding that correctly?
We can be smart about it because you set the ROAS target, and our goal is to deliver on that target. And we are getting smarter and smarter and smarter over time in terms of how we do that. And we also see merchants really nailing this thing where, hey, they experiment creating like one campaign, over time they improve into another one, and they reach the result where the basket size that they have using Shop Campaigns is even higher than their online store. Yeah. And the lifetime value is very comparable, which is rare for any paid acquisition channel when you're comparing it against like the blended thing across the board.
So let me make sure I get this. All right. So you will automatically figure out what the discount will be, as well as on the back end, if the AOV isn't necessarily, or the cost to acquire a new customer, obviously that affects sort of your discount on the front end. But then also AOV, are there upsells that are automatically added to increase AOV in order to make sure that the campaigns are running profitably? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Not yet. We don't have upsell.
It's about to say, like that would be like Disney World. Like,
yeah,
Lauren.
this is an obvious area.
Okay,
it's
so we're at SeaWorld.
But we're close.
Yeah.
Okay.
We actually are suggesting certain products as you go through the journey, as you go through the funnel, and this is one of the areas where we still need to get faster, smarter, and look, I think with this product there is just so much space for improvement in terms of making sure that we are super efficient and very smart, while isolating all of that complexity from the merchant. Again, merchant sets only 3 things that they care and they think about. So how much I'm willing to pay for this, what's my target return on ad spend, which basically means what's my target basket size, and what is my budget, and then usually increasing that budget, because if the price per customer makes sense for you and it delivers the right return on ad spend, you usually want to spend as much as you can on these things.
Oh, we hear that all the time. My credit card's an open bank account for you, Lauren. If you can just hit this number, if you can hit this ROAS, like sky's the limit.
Yes. So that's exactly what Shop Campaign says.
He made bold claims earlier, Ralph. He was like practically risk-free. I was like, ooh, legal's not going to like that phrase. But in the sense of where you're bringing it practically, because you guys have so much control over the environment and so much data available that's proprietary to you all, you're circumventing and you're saying, look, I get it. Apple, Meta, you guys have your turf wars. The government and Google, they're trying to disband a whole bunch of stuff. You're like, hey, well, when you're in our playground, we play by our rules, and where everything else, Ralph, that we keep talking about, where we get like so stuck, is playing in one platform's rules while abiding to another one. And this is just...
Well, the best part of this is the merchant actually owns it all. I mean, it co-owns it with you all because that's the technology, but it's not like you're giving that data to anyone else. It's already in your home database. It's in your source of truth, which makes this even more compelling. I don't think either one of us realized a lot of these features here. We're not just staging this, like we're genuinely flabbergasted because this is such a game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, you add on Shop Pay and all the other sort of friction-free approaches here, plus the app. It's like, oh my God, if you're an e-commerce store, why wouldn't you be on this platform? But we've said that already. So,
but I appreciate that, like, Anderson, like, you're honest. Like, again, I painfully, like, you guys have Shopify, not you. I'm not blaming you. And if you're behind Shopify email, I am blaming you. But like, you guys have launched a lot of products that don't come anywhere near the app store. And so like, it's always this like interesting balance, because there's a lot of app developers that are creating solutions that Shopify doesn't have yet. And then Shopify rolls out a partial solution that's where, hey, if you want to pay for the premium app, absolutely go for it all day long. You want a better loyalty program. You want a better subscription program. You want bundling that goes beyond what former capabilities are. You're offering entrepreneurs a low cost to no cost solution for something that's almost like the Costco generic version. And then you can have the premium, like Dolce & Gabbana premium apps available. But in the past, there's sometimes in like, you guys would launch things that don't have, for me, foundationally, what would make a difference for someone to have a thriving one. So what you're saying is, even with like audiences, even with there's still stuff that can improve with campaigns, lots that can improve. And this specific, like what's launched now, which came out like December 11th, what's the biggest difference is that like you guys looked back and improved existing for better efficiency and a better product. So it's not like new. It's like Nike bringing back a pair of running shoes.
Yeah. Refinement. Yeah. Just getting better at what you're already really good at.
Yeah. I think you rightly point out that the space, for example, advertising marketing space is the space that already has many different players, right? And again, this leads to some complexity. but there are existing solutions. And I think, but whatever we do here, and most of the time, what we do at Shopify is not really about, hey, like, here's the tool. This tool replaces what you were doing before. Especially with this, I think we are with campaigns. We're adding people who were not really doing it at the scale that they're doing right now before. And
Sure.
with this launch, in addition, when we expand Shop Campaigns availability to all merchants, we think that we really go into this space where, hey, a lot more merchants will start their paid marketing journey earlier. And this is the first product that they're going to use because it's so simple, right?
Yeah.
It
Okay.
doesn't mean that this product is better for merchants in all of the cases than, let's say, what largest ad platforms out there are offering. Their offerings are so sophisticated, so advanced, and so on, that they all have a role to play. Our products have often a role to play in getting merchants to start doing something. Like, if we take Shopify email as an example, it can be a great for you to start using email as a channel. But then there are so many other tools, right, that are in the ecosystem that are providing so much value that can be very, very useful for you in your journey. So I think it's all a big ecosystem. And I think as we do things with Shop Campaigns, or we're making that system bigger. We are making sure that merchants are actually able to do more marketing, because at the right terms, they can do a lot more of it, and they can do it across many different platforms and so on. And with Shopify audiences, we are improving what they already do on other platforms, and they are able to do it better. And again, this usually leads to them being able to spend more and grow their business faster.
Yeah. Like, okay, that's fair. That's fair. What you're saying is that, like, it's a solution for if you don't have an alternative. Like, it's a really easy place to start. Like, mine was just that there was a time when your sales team was like, no, switch. And I was like, what? So we tried. We like gave it an earnest try, and it was a place where a lot of our clients were well past where it would, because we were like, oh, I can see where this will eventually go. But okay, so if it's a, hey, there's a lot of good places to start, and then once you've got proof of concept, then you can expand and explore. Do you need a more sophisticated solution? But what you're doing now, at least with this most recent launch, is there's a lot of previously more premature solutions that are now getting more and more developed into sophisticated solutions, especially for new and like mid-market e-commerce. I mean, well, when I say new and mid-market, it's because if you're not on Shopify Plus, which is like, it's a few grand a year, you're at a different revenue level for your store. So now you've got this available, which has been a Plus exclusive, which is pretty cool with Shop Campaigns specifically.
Yeah, now Shop Campaigns is available to all, and we do expect many different merchants use the product. As I said, I think there's a huge opportunity for merchants to start using the product early, and to early in their journey when they just start their paid marketing thing. And we also see large merchants using the product effectively because it allows them to de-risk part of their marketing spend and be very effective at that. And if you look at the merchant base that is using the product, we do have quite a few cases where you have a merchant that is sizable and they're achieving very, very impressive results. So I can share a few data points. For example, Caraway, very, very well known merchant on Shopify, they generated over 2 million in revenue using Shop Campaigns. And that's part of their marketing mix. We had Liquid IV that is becoming a more and more known brand. Was I believe a sponsor for F1 race earlier this year. They actually managed to reduce their cost per acquisition using this platform very significantly. We had Thrive Cosmetics acquire more than 15,000 customers using this tool and so on. So you can see even established merchants are getting the results and are trying the tool. It's just the scale at which different merchants operate, what part of their marketing mix can rely on this tool and so on is different. So it really depends on what are your goals, what want you do, but as long as you enter your goals into the system, we can actually deliver, and It's pretty simple.
In most cases with those brands, so those are big brands. Are campaigns like? Do you know what percentage versus their in-app campaigns? Like how much ad spend are they devoting to shop campaigns just on average? Or is this like, where would you sort of recommend? Because everyone who's listening to the show does some form of advertising, probably in-app in most cases, probably not on your platform, which is the reason why we had you on the show, to make sure everybody understands that this is a tool that they should be using. But like, how do you get started? And then once you're at scale, even with those big brands, like what percentage of spend is that, just to give people sort of an idea of like, where do I begin with this?
Yeah. It's very hard to say because it really depends on what is your mix of spend and what are your goals. What I observe with most of the merchants is they enter the goals that make sense for them and they try to max out as much as possible what platform can deliver. And the first place where we deliver is through Shop App, but you can also extend that campaign onto Meta and Google and get additional traffic there, while still sticking to that fixed price, ROAS target, and budget. So we see merchants trying to max out. But the moment it works, they're trying to get whatever is possible, whatever is available on the system. And the most engaged brands attribute around 1/4 of their new customer growth to shop campaigns.
Wow.
We don't really know how much they spent on other platforms and so on. So we just we can get from with the feedback that they're sharing in terms of how much can they rely on that. But again, this highly depends on the size that you are and so on. And I think for some merchants who have never done advertising, this can very easily be the first thing that is 100% of their spend, and then they start expanding into other things. They start doing things directly when they can afford that complexity, when they can have the time to do that. This is just often the first step that you can do to start the journey in a super minimal time investment.
Right. So for someone who's brand new,
way of doing it,
someone who's brand new, because it's so easy to set up. But for somebody who's more established, maybe set aside a percentage of your budget and just test it out, see what kind of new customer acquisition costs, what type of return on ad spend you're getting. All right, makes sense. I mean, it's like, well, why wouldn't you? I mean, I guess when all is said and done, my guess is that if you test it and you get success, all of a sudden you start to see a larger portion of the overall media spend being devoted more to shop campaigns, is my guess, because it's such a smart tool.
Yeah. And your media spend usually increases. Because again, what is interesting about marketing and paid customer acquisition is that budgets are usually not fixed.
Right.
You are not limited by the budget. You are limited by performance of different channels. So if you have a channel that is performant, you try to spend against it as much as possible.
Of course.
And as long as you have money to invest, and even in this area, Shopify can help through the financing products that we have.
It's kind of like they have a solution for everything, Lauren.
I'm just calling it Disney World of e-commerce.
I'm fascinated by the app too. What's the best way for people to obviously there's a repeat customer play on this. There's a friction-free play even for new customer acquisition. Like, how do you recommend people introduce it? If they're an established Shopify store, they have a banner on their site, do they put it on the thank you page? Like, how do you integrate the app into it?
Yeah, so the typical integration experience historically has been a thank you page, and Shop App is a really good tool for buyers to start tracking the order, tracking the package, reducing the customer support workload for your store. But that was the first step in the journey. And right now, it really makes sense for you to make sure that, hey, you are actually present inside the Shop App and enable it if you haven't enabled it yet. And there are also tools for you to customize your store, to customize your presence inside the Shop App. There are a ton of minis.
No, this is the secret thing I don't want people to know. Like, this is like the optimizing your app, like your store. I was like, Andrew.
And all of this video content that you can place. And we have integrations with partners like Tolstoy, where your video content can actually appear inside the app, which then is very attractive. Like, it's again, there are multiple ways to tell your brand story. And in what is important in Shop is Shop actually gives you tools to do that. It's not like a cookie cutter experience where everything is the same. You have a possibility to make sure that that presence represents who you are with the right tools in the mix. So that's what I'm always very fascinated about, and this is also something that makes the app feel like really good. It's a fantastic visual experience, and then because you are signed in, it's also a personalized experience.
100%.
Again, because you're signed in, the checkout is frictionless.
Like I'm signed in. Like I don't know if it's going to show well, but like I've got the app for me, and it's like cool. Here's $5, and I can see like I'm just gonna stores that I have bought at. Like so, there's like Alice Chocolates, Frownies, Java, like all the Unis, like all these stores, like and even like the offers. Like I purchased from Bamboo Ave. Like I've gotten their swim trunks, so shout out to Trey. But like you've got like Wonder Skin with an amazing. Oh my gosh, this is so hard with the reflection. But it's like it's totally custom tailored, and you have furthermore examples of what I've already been seeing in ads nonstop. Where it's like, oh, I've been looking at cakes, those bralette. Yeah, I'm speaking to the wrong audience right now. For the women that are listening, you understand. It looks like they have great advertising. But even when I go into my profile, I already have money on the account, my payment set up, my shipping pieces are there, and I've got all the tracking that I've had for past orders that I can see with reactivated engagement. So like Timeless Pearl, if I want to get more earrings, I can see customized offers. So like the app is a very visual experience where I go back to the competing against Amazon, because when you go to Amazon, it's like you're in a big shopping mall, whereas I'm looking at my app and it looks like a boutique that was made for Lauren E. Petrullo.
I actually asked you, I said, for your Shopify store, have you actually done the app? Because it's a tremendous branding play, just that unto itself.
I was like, we did this like I don't know, we were doing it in spring, like where I had the team do it. So I'm like, I'm going to go look at it right now. But it was a huge initiative within our ClickUp store. So I'm like, I was like, I was double checking. I was like, for sure we had set this up. Yeah. All of our reviews are on there. Like you can see the full products. All the pictures are pulled from the best ones, 100%. Like we set up our store in the spring. So I was like, wait, let me just double check it. Because we've gotten orders from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it'll tell you where the location is. And I remember being like, we need to clean this up more. So, all right. Well, oh my gosh, Ralph, you're like sending an immediate email to your team and be like, every e-commerce client we have, we need to do a full huddle and say, we need to evaluate what their shop experiences are like. We definitely now need to check out the benchmarks dashboard, because for me, at least, it's just like a God's gift to, unfavoring expectations. So like, I'm just like, I've said this out loud. I've said this to clients. E-commerce is hard. E-commerce is new. We've had clients with double-digit ROAS that still thought it wasn't good enough. And it's like this level of expectation, because it's so new, there's not as much loyalty. There's not as much longevity. So we find e-commerce clients hop from vendor to vendor to vendor, thinking that it's a marketing issue because marketing's hard versus always a business strategy issue. Anyways, like all this to say is like looking at that benchmark now, like that dashboard with this additions. Like if you're listening to this and you have an e-commerce store, like, or you're managing someone else's e-commerce store, like you need to look there immediately, because you want to know if you're doing well or if you're not. Because I'll bet a lot of people are going to be like, oh, we are doing better than I expected. So it could be like, hey, great. Now let's take the win and let's amplify further. Or if you're not where you need to be, that's a fair assessment if your provider is doing what they need to do for you.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I mean, Edition just came out, and this might be the first time that you're hearing about it here. So, Andres, what's the best place to send people for resources about Shopify if they haven't already gotten the message by now, and they haven't already Googled Shopify.com? Where is the best place for you to recommend Perpetual Traffic listeners to go?
Yeah, so Edition always has a website, and in this case, it's nothing really different. Like, so we do have a website. The website is really, really impressive. I really suggest everyone to visit it, and you can find it probably with the link shared somewhere around this podcast. And And you will also very clearly discover it if you visit Shopify.com.
That's tremendous. Well, I think suffice to say, you've surprised us quite a bit. I mean, I'd like to think that we're fairly in tune with what's going on in the digital space.
But there's so much.
There's so
we
much.
Can't be on top of it all.
Yeah, like there's so much here. I mean, we didn't even talk about Shop Pay, which I think is one of the best additions in history right there alone. But we didn't even get to that. We got to all the other stuff that you guys have going on. So if you're an e-commerce store and you're not on Shopify, or you're thinking about starting an e-commerce store, I mean, I don't think there's any other solution out there.
Lauren. There are, but like not one I'm working with.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes it so
I know,
much
easier. I'm totally biased.
Yeah,
but like I own 3 stores. It just makes a lot of sense. The only thing, right? I mean, of course, like, and just congratulations. I'm sure you're now like taking a breath of fresh air because you guys have been building so much towards this launch, and now that it's good, like you're like gonna enjoy sleep maybe again, but don't sleep too long because your summer editions is going to be like in another 6 months. And
we have a lot of exciting stuff for that coming.
It's already in the pipeline.
Yeah, so not a lot of sleep like for the next 6 months, I guess.
That's okay. You're Lithuanian. Your skin doesn't show it.
Yeah. I can do that. No worries.
Only Lauren could say that. Well, I guess that means we have to have you guys come back and talk about some of the new features when the next edition comes out. But thank you so much for coming on today on Perpetual Traffic. Andrews, this has been absolutely tremendous. We'll leave links over in the show notes over at perpetualtraffic.com. Of course, you can watch this in our stunned expressions, as Andrews talked about a lot of the features that are going on right now inside Shopify, over at our YouTube channel, which is perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. So on behalf of my awesome co-host, Lauren E. Petrullo.
Ciao.
Until next show, see ya.